Hello, my name is Olga Pulgar Vidal, Program Coordinator with the Jewish Council for the Aged Interages Program. As part of our intergenerational interview project, Ms. Saria Stephen, a rising 10th grade student with passion for reading, art, and music, will interview Mr. Bill Waller, who has been a dedicated Interages volunteer for 21 years. Welcome both.
Again, today I'm joined by Mr. Bill Waller, who is being nominated for the Austin Heyman Interages Award after over 20 years of service with the JCA. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well, one of the things that I have always done is I enjoy my life every day. I mean, there are things that make you sad and there are things that make you unhappy, but you know what? You got up in the morning and you've got another day in front of you. I was adopted as a child. During COVID, I was able to track down my birth parents and all sorts of siblings, half siblings. And that does nothing to mitigate against the family that I was raised with. So um, I try and stay active. I've been retired for about 12 years. I've you all said, I've been with Interages for over 20 years. And that grew out of working with the school system.
Um, I heard that as a child you loved reading about travel, maps, globes and talking to foreigners. And you also set a goal to follow Marco Polo's path and have done most of it. You've been successful in following your dreams. So, do you have any advice to anyone trying to complete a goal or dream in their life?
Well, the old phrase is always something about you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Well, that sort of is what you do with goals. But as a child, I used to go in when I was a teenager, when I was your age, I would go in. I lived on the North Shore of Long Island, and I would take the train into the United Nations in New York City. And I would sit in the visitors' galleries and I would listen to people and I would see people in their costumes, their native costumes. So yeah, it's nothing new for me.
Your photos manage to capture authentic and even lively moments, whether it's musicians playing their instruments or even locals sitting along a roadside. So, how do you balance your passion for travel and photography with your volunteer work and other commitments? And do you find that these interests maybe complement each other in any way?
Well, I've been able to travel in many places. And when I go there, I can take this iconic photograph, but I also went behind the scenes in Agra, and behind my hotel, there were desolate shanty towns between me and this, beautiful mausoleum. So when I travel, I look for the details. The big things are beautiful, and yes, I can capture them, but it's also the small details.
Over 20 years of service with the JCA is incredible. What inspired your decision to volunteer with JCA Interages, and what encouraged you to continue doing it for over 20 years?
Um, I was introduced by a woman, name was Louisa Magzanian, but she was one of the first directors of the Interages program at Kennedy. And she said, you know what? I need you. And so I joined her. But I met Austin at that time. So I've been familiar with the program. And in general, I just believe in giving back to the community no matter what I do. Learning with Interages and the LTI at Kennedy was very important because this is um, with the turmoil around us in all sorts of spheres, whether it's economic or political, international. Uh, I believe that we, the adults, have to set a role model for you who come behind us because you're going to have to clean up the messes that we haven't quite finished.
Um, so could you briefly explain the goal of the programs you're involved in currently and how they help our community?
The Interages, the Dialogues program especially, I think has served a purpose in all the schools we've been at. And I think the commonality is that many children like yourself grow up without having interactions with adults except your parents. And I think the idea that um, all of the angst and turmoil that you're going through as a, ninth going into 10th grade, um, nobody's ever seen it before. Yeah, we have. We have all seen it before. It may have been a little bit different for us, but we have all the same insecurities. And sometimes it's refreshing to step back and say, oh, they did sort of the same thing when they were kids. And it's true.
In your years of volunteering with Interages and similar programs, do you have any memorable moments or experiences that have really stood out to you? And if any, could you share them with the audience?
Um, we share our experience, our elder experience, and children will bring things out that they've never told anybody else because either they can't or they didn't feel comfortable. And those moments are something that we walk away with feeling like we've done something.
It's clear with all of your adventures and all the experiences you've had that you're living your life to the fullest and uplifting others while you do so. I know that your personal philosophy is that by change, growth can occur, which I find really touching and inspiring. Could you offer any advice to the audience in this regard?
Well, um, part of my growing up was going to war as a young man. I was 19 years old when I went to Vietnam, and that is not the way to be introduced to another country. At least being an ear, a non-judgmental, and I think that's one of the biggest parts of Interages. It's a no judgment zone. And with that, we tend to gain your trust as you talk to us. Um, it also opened my eyes to the fact that there are different philosophies of living and that what we might have here in our country may not work in another country. We don't have all the answers. And then I went off to a college that believed in travel study, independent study, and work study. And their motto was education for a small planet. And it is a small planet. I don't care how big it is, but I know that the people that I met in Varanasi or the people that I met in Bamako, they want to have children. They want to educate their children. They will do anything to make sure that they're healthy and they're fed. And they're no different than us in Silver Spring. And I know there are a lot of surface differences. There are a lot of cultural differences, but underneath, humans are humans.
As we mentioned earlier, you have been nominated to receive the Austin Heyman Award. So congratulations on that. What does this award mean to you?
Well, it's humbling because I know that Austin and the people around him who created much of the JCA universe were pioneers in their way of looking at and trying to come up with a device, a mechanism to keep older people engaged in their retirement, because so many people retire now, they have a full life after retirement. And what Austin and company came up with was intergenerational sharing. And hey, I'm all for it. And when, like I said, when Louisa asked me, put me in, coach, I'll be there.
I had so many memorable experiences, whether it's with the OMA art therapy programs or the music and art therapy programs. I've loved JCA and their programs so much. So before we close, is there anything you would like to add?
Well, like I said, I feel honored that JCA thought enough of my contributions to recognize it. I hope that I can continue working with them as I age gently in place. I will continue to be any part of the program that they need, because having the dialogue between the ages, and that's why our program is called that, is very important, because sometimes y'all don't think we understand you. Well, yeah, we do. We may not understand the words you're using, but we understand your needs.
For sure. Well, that concludes our interview. So thank you so much, Bill, for your time. Your experiences and advice are truly an inspiration for me and the audience. And of course, I'd like to thank the JCA for giving me the opportunity to interview Mr. Bill Waller today. And as always, I'm grateful to be a part of their team.